I was one of the first people to have an iPad, not a flex or anything, but it's because my dad, like he had got one from something. And then he's like, I'm not using this. Do you want to have it? I was like, I want it so bad. So like I had my iPad out, and then just like the very first iPad. And then there's this guy outside of the like gateway, and I walk out of gateway, which is a little study center, with my iPad in hand, and this guy just boom bumps into me, and I was like, oh, I like fall down a little bit, and he's like, excuse me. I'm like, oh, excuse me. And then he's like, I can't help but notice, but like you have the new iPad. And he's like, I don't mean to be weird, but I was watching you, and like I saw that you have the iPad. And I was like, oh yeah, from my dad. And he's like, oh, how do you like it and stuff? I was like, oh, it's good. Anyways, I have to go to class. And he's like, oh, you're going PSLH, I'll walk there with you. And I was like, that's not necessary. I was like, oh, okay, sure. So we start walking, and then he starts grabbing my elbow, and I don't know what it is about elbows and these weird people, but this guy literally like grabbed onto my elbow as I'm walking. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then he's like, so what year are you? I was like, oh, I'm a freshman, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, what about you? What year are you? And he doesn't like respond. He's like, and I was like, what are you studying? He's like, chemistry. And I was like, oh, cool, chemistry. Must be some grad student in chemistry. Anyways, the way he was walking was super creepy. We finally walk up to the hall that I'm supposed to be at, and then he's like, what did you say your name was? I was like, Leslie. He's like, Lindsay? And I was like, yeah, Lindsay. And then he's like, Lindsay, I lost my phone. Can you like call it? I was like, oh my God, yeah, sure. Pull out my phone like an idiot. Call him, and it rings. He's like, got it. And I was like, okay, well, nice to meet you. Go into the hall, like not really thinking much of it. Bro, this guy turned into a grade A stalker, omega creeper. Okay, he starts texting me. I'm in the hall, and he's like, hey, do you want to get coffee? And I was like, oh, he's like, hey, Lindsay, nice to meet you. Did you want to get coffee? And I was like, no, I don't. So I just don't reply. I don't respond. And then I get out of my class, like walking, and I go back to Gateway to study. And I think after that, I leave, and he's outside of Gateway again. He's like, Lindsay. And I was like, hi, how did you find me? No. I wasn't at Gateway. I was at the little, it was like a little snack, the Zot portal. If anyone knows at UCI, there's a little Zot portal with snacks by the student center. I went to the Zot portal. He was outside of Zot portal right when I get out. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. So sorry. He's like, no tea or anything? I was like, no, I'm good. And then every single day after that, he starts texting me, hey, I have a free eye clicker. Did you want it? Hey, you want to go to Dave & Buster's tonight? Hey, I'm going to Vegas. Did you want it? It's a free trip. He starts texting me all the things. He starts calling me 8 in the morning. He starts leaving voicemails, and he's like, hey, Lindsay, yeah, so I'm going to Vegas again, and I was wondering if you'd want to, like, come with me. Yeah, no, okay, call me back. Oh, my God. Anyways, his name, I put it as Creeper, and it was, like, 6 months, like, kind of ongoing. And I just was always in fear that this guy was creeping. Anyways, people are weird. And then, you know, the Rizzo story, the one where the guy in the elbow in the class, during that same time, there's another guy named Nathan, and he was like in this fraternity, and he was going through this crazy cycle breakup with his girlfriend at the time. But he came and he was like confiding in me. He would always come to my lecture at the same time as that Rizzo guy. So there's 2 weirdos in my class, and I'm trying to teach, and one of them is like, they're both trying to come early, stay late. One of the guys is like obsessed with bringing me smoothies. He would bring me these massive smoothies and be like, yeah, you have to drink this. It's like very healthy. And I was like, okay, thank you. And then there's Rizzo, who's like acting all weird. And then they would both stay late. And then I felt safer with Nathan because Rizzo was like major creeper vibes, whereas like Nathan was like at least his fellow tutor, and he was like, you know, I just thought he was going through a hard time. But then like one time Nathan like walked me all the way back to my place, and then he's like, all right, bye. And I was like, well, bye. And he was like confiding in me that he like him and his girlfriend going through this really hard time, and he like tried to like get into her apartment, but she locked him out, all this stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that's like sounds like just give her some space. Like why are you like trying to get into her apartment? Like she doesn't want to be with you, she won't be with you. And he's like, no, you don't understand, like we're going through like this, it's just like just what back and forth, whatever. And I'm like, this guy's weird, super weird. Okay, so then at 11 p.m. he's like sends me this giant paragraph, and he's like, Leslie, I really need someone to talk to right now. Like I'm spiraling, and it's like really bad, and you're the only person I know that I could talk to about this stuff. Can I please come pick you up? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I went through a period of 3 days where I had no contacts, no glasses. I was completely blind. I was like a non-functioning human being. I have like a negative, like 7 prescription, and I had no contacts for 3 days. Okay, it was awful. Okay, and this was one of those days. And he's like, can I come pick you up? And I'm like, Yeah, that's fine. Come pick me up. So I get into his car at 11 p.m. like an idiot. And then we sit down. I sit in his car. And I'm like, so I can't really see right now, but like, I'll talk. What's up? And he starts just driving mindlessly. And he's like, I'm so upset. Blah, 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 blah. Venting this and this and this and this. And he's like, thank you so much for like listening to me. And I'm like, where are we going? And it's like, drive. We start driving to like, I swear, the boonies. I don't even know where we are. It's like, there's like wheat, maybe not wheat, like, those yellow plants everywhere, the yellow tall ones. I'm like, oh God. And I'm like, hey, it's getting kind of late. Can we go back? And he's just like, yeah, no, we're going back. We'll get back. But he still goes the same direction. And I was like, all right, this is my fault. I was told not to do this. And here I am doing this. It's like 12:45 a.m. I can't see. I don't know this guy. He's hysterical. I'm going to die. I'm going to die tonight. Corn? Not corn, guys. It wasn't corn. It was like the tall yellow plants. Wheat. I swear it was wheat. Yeah, anyway, so he finally does actually drop me off. But he would then I go back in and I was like, I'm never hanging out with him again. But then he continues to confide in me. Like it's kind of like he just picked me to feel like you are the person I'm dumping all of my trauma on. Like you are. And he would just send me paragraphs and paragraphs. And I'm like, I just tutor with you. Like, I don't know you like that. Man. And then eventually I just said to him like, hey, like, I'm really sorry, but I don't think I can be like that person that like can help you with this stuff. Like, I don't know the situation. I don't really know you that well. Because I told them my friends and they're like, you guys gotta tell him. And I was like, okay. And so I did. I just sent him this really dramatic, like, I'm really sorry, but like, I'm not equipped to like take care of your problems and all this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, okay, I'm like really sorry. I didn't mean to. And then we actually never spoke again. So something like that. My memory's all foggy. Something like that. But it ended it pretty like, but there was this period in my life when I was like, I'm dealing with this stalker and this weirdos. Anyways, that was like a brief moment of like major stress in my life.